Nếu mình ngồi trên tòa cừu, mình giữ lưng thẳng, hai vai thả lỏng, hai bàn tay có thể chồng chân nhau và để trong lòng chân hoặc để trên hai đầu gối. Mắt của mình có thể nhắm mắt lại, miệng khép lại và mỉm cười nhẹ. Và buông thư toàn thân. Dear respected Thai, dear noble community, this morning we'll be practicing sitting meditation before we start our Sunday service. And so to begin, we invite you to find yourself a comfortable posture. If you're sitting on a chair, you can place both your feet on the ground or on the cushion. If you're sitting on the ground, make sure your back is upright, your shoulders relax, your hands can be placed on your lap or on your knees. You can close your eyes, keep a light smile on your face, and relax your whole body. Sau khi đại chúng chỉnh tư thế xong, mời chúng ta chú tâm về hơi thở. Để ý những hơi thở ra vào. Khi mình thở vào, mình biết đây là hơi thở vào. Khi mình thở ra, mình biết đây là hơi thở ra. Mình thở tự nhiên và mình không cần dùng ép hơi thở. So once you establish your posture, we can then bring our attention to our breathing. Become aware of your in-breath as you breathe in, and become aware of your out-breath as you breathe out. We don't have to control or force our breathing. If we know we have a long breath, then let it be a long breath. If we know we have a short breath, then let it be a short breath. Mình ngồi như thế nào, mình có sự bình an, tĩnh lặng, và bất cứ suy nghĩ xen vào, mình buông ra, mình không cần theo nó. Mình trở lại với hơi thở, trở lại bản chính mình. Sit in such a way that there is peace, stillness, and whatever thoughts or sounds that may arise, we don't have to follow them. We can let them go, come back to our breathing, come back to ourselves. Mình sẽ bắt đầu buổi ngồi thiền bằng 3 tiếng chuông, và sau đó con sẽ đọc những vài câu, và trong những câu đó có vài chữ, dùng những chữ đó trong buổi ngồi thiền. thở vào, thở ra. Tôi biết tôi đang thở ra. Vào, ra. Breathing in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out. In, out. Thở vào, tôi thấy tôi là bông hoa. Thở ra, tôi cảm thấy tươi mát. Là hoa tươi mát. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower, fresh. Thở vào, tôi thấy tôi là trái núi. Thở ra, tôi cảm thấy vững vàng. Là núi vững vàng. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain, solid. tôi thấy là không gian mênh mông. Thở ra, tôi cảm thấy tự do thanh thản. Không gian thanh thản. Breathing in, I see myself as space. Breathing out, I feel free. Space, freedom. Cảm ơn đại chúng, mời đại chúng xả chân và xoa bóp. Please take some time to release and massage your legs. Và xin nhắc nhở đại chúng, vì nào có cell phone, xin nhớ tắt cell phone, đem đến giữa buổi lễ thanh tịnh và trang nghiêm. A reminder for those who have a cell phone, please make sure you have turned off your cell phone so that we keep the atmosphere of the ceremony serene. Thank you. xuống và mở kinh trang số 0. Please kneel down and please open to the page 0, Fragrance of the Incense. Trầm hương đông sấm ngang mười phương, nguyện nguyện kính đức nghiêm từ vô lượng, cầu cầu xin chính tâm thành chúng con, vầng vầng khói kết mây lành cúng dường, đạo nhiệm màu đã lan truyền nơi cùng nơi, nhờ chân lý chúng sanh đều thoát luân hồi, đồng quý kinh huy dưới đại sen, dâng hóa tâm tinh khiêng màu thắm tươi cành, đại quang minh sáng huy hoàng trang nghiêm, hơn 10 phương điều ngự hào quang an lành, nhìn đạo uyên chuyên soi khắp cùng quần sanh, phần cùng nhau tu tinh tấn màu viễn thành. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Xin cho khói trầm thơm kết thành mấy năm sắc, dâng lên khắp 10 phương cung dường vô lượng bụng vô lượng chư Bồ Tát, cùng các thánh hiền tăng nơi pháp giới dung thâm kết đại sáng rực rỡ, nguyện làm kẻ đồng hành trên con đường giác ngộ, xin mọi loài chúng sanh từ bỏ cõi làng quên theo đường giới định tuệ, quay về trong tình thức. Chúng con kính dâng hướng lên bụng và chư vị Bồ Tát. Hôm nay là ngày 19 tháng 6 năm 2022. Đệ tử chúng đàn phúng tụng kinh tru sinh tán hồng danh, tập thử công đức quyền thầm phương thường trụ tam bảo. Ôm Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật tiếp dẫn đạo sư A Di Đà Phật. Từ bi đêm đỏ hương lên hứa kim David Perkins pháp nhân thiện nghiệp, tinh thần bên pháp nhân nhận trần trần hữu nhân pháp nhân tuệ chân tâm, trương nguyện tâm pháp nhân từ xuân thủy trương văn rầm, và văn lương pháp nhân thiện đức,
Tàng minh sinh cùng quân hùng nguyện văn hướng pháp danh trung tâm. Quánh thị ly pháp danh thành thà lý định quê. Phạm định tường pháp danh hoàng trang nguyện an đi lý văn sở. Phan ba trầm hoàng phúc ban dịp quân sanh pháp danh tuệ bình. Trần trí thiền pháp danh thiền đức thái kình minh pháp danh quang nhật. Vô quốc tuân trở chiêu quan phán thị bạc Nga pháp danh nhiều hiệp. Phiền nào đoán nghiêm nghiêm trương tiêu trừ tâm xả mê độ siêu sanh tịnh độ. Và cùng đồng thời thứ nguyện kỳ an cho Phật tử sư san hy nguyện phu râm. Trần Phạm Thái Anthony pháp danh thiền phương Trần Kiên Tinh. Huỳnh Thị Tuyết Huệ pháp danh diệu tu. Trần Nhân Phu pháp danh Minh Hoàng. Hoàng Thị Hương Giang Trần Hoàng Nhật Nhi. Trần Hoàng Nhật Khang Vương Hải Sinh. Huỳnh Thị Hòa pháp danh Từ Ân Thuận. Cao Nhung Quyền Thị Kim Phượng pháp danh Từ Hòa. Lễ Thị Cây Tổ Phụng Hiệp Huỳnh Văn Bảo pháp danh Thanh Pháp. Quyền Thị Kim Phụng pháp danh Từ Hòa. Tê Vinh Vương Lý Quyền Thị Xuân pháp danh Diệu Nhiên. Ngô Thị Thành Trần Thị Môn Thái Thị Liên Quyền Văn Phân. Phiền nào đoàn nghiệt nghiệp trương tiêu trừ thường hoặc kiết tình vinh vô khổ anh. Phổ quyền âm siêu dương thôi hải yên hà thanh. Pháp giới chúng sanh tề thành Phật đạo. Nam mô chứng minh sư Bồ Tát. Nam mô chứng minh sư Bồ Tát. Nam mô chứng minh sư Bồ Tát. Năng lễ sở lễ tân khâm tình cảm ứng đạo giao năng tư nghị. Ngã thứ đạo tràng như đế châu thập phương chư phần anh hiền trung. Ngã thân anh hiền chư phần tiền đạo hiền tiếp tung uy mạng lệ. Chí tâm đảnh lễ Nam mô Tần hư không bia pháp giới. Qua hiện vị lai thăm phương chư phần. Tôn pháp hiền thánh tăng thường trụ tam bảo. Chí tâm đảnh lễ Nam mô Ta Bà Giáo Chủ Điều Ngự Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Đương lai hạ sanh Nhi Lạc Tôn Phật. Đại tri văn thù xứ lời Bồ Tát. Đại hạnh phổ hiền Bồ Tát. Hộ pháp chư tôn Bồ Tát. Linh sơn hội thượng Phật Bồ Tát. Chí tâm đảnh lễ Nam mô Tây phương Cực Lạc. Thế giới đại từ đại bi A Di Đà Phật. Đại bi Quang Thế Âm Bồ Tát. Đại lực đại thế chí Bồ Tát. Đại quyền Địa Tạng Vương Bồ Tát. thanh tịnh đại hải chúng Bồ Tát.
Kính mời đại chúng mở kinh trang số 4. Please open to the page number 4.
Nam mô tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Nam mô tassa arahato sama sambuddhassa. Nam mô tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. The Dharma is deep and lovely. We now have a chance to see, study, and to practice it. We vow to realize its true meaning. Nam mô Đức Bổn Sư Bổn Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Nam mô Đức Bổn Sư Bổn Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Nam mô Đức Bổn Sư Bổn Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Phán Bổn Cao Siêu Mâu Niệm Cơ Nhiêm Mấy Đường Thọ Trì Sinh Quyền đi vào biển tuệ tinh thông giáo nghĩa huyền vi. Kính tình yêu ban nhà Ba La Mật Đa Bồ Tát quán tự tại khi quán chiếu thâm sắc Ba La Mật Thật nhiều hạ trí độ vọng soi đây năm hướng điều không có tự tánh thực chứ điều ấy sắm Ngài vượt thoát tất cả mọi khổ đau ác nạn. Nghe đây xa lời từ xa chẳng hạn gì không 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 có sáng thọ tường ngùng không có hàng thân không có nhà ni tê thiết không có sanh thanh hướng về xung pháp sao trần không có 18 giới tứ nhãn đến ni thân không hề có vô minh không có hình vô minh cho đến không lào từ cùng không hết lào từ không khổ tầm diện nào không trí cùng không đắc khi môn vị Bồ Tát nương diệu pháp tri độ bát nhã ba la mật thì tâm không chướng ngại vì tâm không chướng ngại nên không có sợ hãi. Nào đà niết bàn tuyệt đối chư 403 đời nhiều pháp trí độ bát nhã ba la mật nên đắc vô thường giác vậy nên phải biết rằng bát nhã ba la mật là linh chú đại thành là linh chú đại mê linh chú vô thường là linh chú tuyệt định là chân lý bất vọng có năng lực tiêu trừ tất cả mọi khổ nạn cho nên tôi muốn thuyết cầu thành chú trí độ bát nhã ba la mật nội sống đứng Bồ Tát liên đồng thân chú ra ga đế ga đế ba ra sam ga thế ga thế ba ra sam ga thế bồ đề sa ha ga thế ba ra sam ga bồ đề sa ha.
Kinh Hải Đạo Tự Thân. Đây là những điều tôi được nghe hồi Bụt đang ở trong vườn xoài, có nhiều bóng mát bên bờ sông Bạc Đà La ở nước Ma Kiệt Đà. Hồi đó, hai vị tôn giả Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên vừa nhập diệt không bao lâu. Hôm ấy là ngày rằm, có lễ Bố Tát tụng giới. Bụt trải tọa cụ ngồi trước đại chúng. Sau khi đưa mắt quan sát, người cất tiếng: nhìn đại chúng hôm nay, tôi thấy một khoảng trống lớn. Đó là tại vì hai thầy Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên đã nhập Niết Bàn. Trong giáo đoàn Thanh Văn của chúng ta, hai vị Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên là những người có tài năng đầy đủ nhất về cả phương diện thuyết pháp, khuyên bảo, dạy dỗ và biện thuyết. Này quý vị, trên đời có hai thứ tài sản mà người ta thường ưa tìm cầu. Đó là tiền tài và pháp tài. Tiền tài là thứ người ta chạy theo người đời để tìm cầu. Pháp tài là thứ người ta có thể tìm cầu từ hai thầy Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên. Như Lai là người không còn tìm cầu gì nữa, dù là tiền tài hay pháp tài. Các vị đừng có vì sự kiện hai thầy Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên nhập diệt rồi mà u sầu và khổ não. Một cây đại thụ thì có đủ rễ, thân, lá, cành, hoa và quả, sum xuê và tươi tốt. Như ta biết, những nhánh lớn sẽ bị tàn lụi và gãy đổ trước những nhánh nhỏ. Cũng như trên dãy núi châu báu kia, đỉnh núi cao nhất lại là đỉnh sẽ sụp đổ trước. Trong đoàn thể đại chúng tu học của Như Lai, Xá Lợi Phất và Một Kiền Liên là hai vị học giả lớn. Vì vậy, nếu hai vị có nhập Niết Bàn trước, đó cũng là chuyện đương nhiên. Cho nên tôi mới khuyên quý vị hãy chớ nên sinh tâm u sầu và khổ não. Tất cả các hiện tượng nào có sinh khởi, có tồn tại, có tác dụng trên các hiện tượng khác. Nói khác hơn là tất cả các pháp hữu vi đều phải theo luật vô thường để đi đến hoại diệt. Muốn cho chúng còn mãi, còn hoài mà không hoại diệt, đó là một chuyện không thể xảy ra. Tôi đã từng nhắc nhở quý vị nhiều lần rằng tất cả những gì ta trân quý hôm nay, ngày mai thế nào cũng phải buông bỏ và xa lìa. Chính tôi chẳng bao lâu nữa cũng sẽ ra đi. Vì vậy, quý vị phải thực tập và hải đạo tự thân, biết nương tựa nơi chính mình mà đừng nương tựa vào một kẻ nào khác. Phải thực tập nương tựa vào hải đạo chánh pháp, biết nương tựa vào nơi chánh pháp chứ đừng nương tựa vào một hải đạo nào khác hay một ai khác. Điều này có nghĩa là thực tập an trú trong phép quán niệm nội thân và trong nội tâm, sử dụng các bài tập một cách chuyên cần để nuôi dưỡng chánh trí và chánh niệm, để điều phục và chuyển hóa những đam mê, âu lo trên đời, và cũng có nghĩa là thực tập an trú trong phép quán niệm ngoại thân, trong ngoại thân, sử dụng các bài tập một cách chuyên cần để nuôi dưỡng chánh trí và chánh niệm, để điều phục và chuyển hóa những đam mê và lo âu trên đời. Đó gọi là phép quay về nơi hải đạo tự thân, để nương tựa nơi hải đạo tự thân, quay về nơi hải đạo chánh pháp, để nương tựa nơi hải đạo chánh pháp, mà không nương tựa vào một hải đạo nào khác hay một vật nào khác. Bục dạy kinh này, các vị khất sĩ đều vui mừng làm theo.
Discourse on taking refuge in oneself. I heard these words of the Buddha one time when the Lord was staying in the mango grove in the cool shade of the mango trees along the bank of a river in the land of Magadha. The elders Shariputra and Moggallana had recently passed away. It was the full moon day of the Bodhisattva ceremony, and the precepts were recited. The Buddha spread out his sitting mat and sat facing the community. After looking out at those gathered, he said, "As I look at our community, I see a large space left by the Venerable Shariputra and Moggallana. In our Sangha, these venerables were the monks who were the most eloquent in giving Dharma talks, encouraging and instructing all the other monks, nuns, and lay people. O monks, people seek two kinds of riches, material riches and the riches of the Dharma. In their search for material riches, they can go to worldly people. In their search for the riches of the Dharma, they could always go to Venerable Shariputra and Moggallana. The Tathagata is someone who is not searching for anything, whether it is material or the Dharma. O monks, do not be sad or anxious because Shariputra and Moggallana have passed into nirvana. On large trees, filled with leaves, sumptuous fruits and flowers, the largest branches also have to break. On jeweled mountains, don't the highest peaks also have to erode? In the Sangha of the Tathagata, the Venerable Shariputra and Moggallana were the greatest students. So it is natural that these venerables will enter nirvana first. Do not give rise to feelings of sorrow or anguish. All phenomena that are born, exist, and are subject to influence of other phenomena. In other words, all phenomena that are composite must abide by the law of impermanence and eventually cease to exist. They cannot exist eternally without someday being destroyed. Everything we cherish and hold dear today, we will have to let go of and be separated from in the future. In not too long a time, I will also pass away. Therefore, I urge you to practice being an island unto yourself, knowing how to take refuge in yourself, and not taking refuge in anyone or anything else. Practice taking refuge in the island of the Dharma. Know how to take refuge in the Dharma, and do not take refuge in any other island or person. Meditate on the body in the body, nourishing right understanding and mindfulness to master and transform your cravings and anxieties. Observe the elements outside the body in the elements outside the body, nourishing right understanding and mindfulness to master and transform your cravings and anxieties. That is the way to take refuge in the island of self, to return to yourself in order to take refuge in the Dharma, and not to take refuge in any other island or thing. When the bhikkhus heard the Buddha offer this teaching, they were all very happy to put it into practice. Kính mời đại chúng mở kinh trang 16. Please turn to page 16. Bài tụng hạnh phúc, the recitation of happiness.
Chúng con đừng ngồi đây trong phút giây hiện tại, bao bọc bởi tăng thân, thấy mình thật may mắn sinh ra được làm người. Con sớm gặp chánh pháp Hà Bồ Đề tươi tầm, lại có duyên đường sống hòa hợp trong tăng thân. Năng lượng của tăng đoàn giới luật và uy nghi đang bảo hộ cho con không để gây lầm lỗi, không bị nghĩa xấu đẩy đi về nẻo tối tâm, lại được cùng bạn hiền đi trên đường chân thiện. Có ánh sáng chiếu soi của Bụt và Bồ Tát, tuy có mặt trong con nhờ hạ giống khổ đau, phiền não và tâm khí, nhưng chánh niệm hiện tiền vẫn thường luôn biểu hiện, giúp cho con tim sung với những gì mâu niệm có mặt trong tự thân và có mặt quanh con. Sáu căn còn đầy đủ, vẫn thấy được trời xanh, tai nghe tiếng chim hót, mùi người thấy hương trầm, tươi nếm được pháp vị. Thế mỗi con vườn trài ý hồng nhận với thân, nếu không có Thế Tôn, nếu không có diệu pháp, nếu không có tăng đoàn, làm sao con may mắn được pháp lành hôm nay. Công phu tu tập này con cùng xin hành trì cho gia đình dòng họ, cho thế hệ tương lai và cả cho xã gắn ghép và hận thù, thấy được nhiều cảnh ấy. Con nguyên tâm hành trì, điều phục những tâm hành tham đắm và giận ghét, tâm khả năng lắng nghe và sử dụng ái ngữ để thiết lập truyền thông, tạo nên sự hiểu biết trong nhân và thương yêu như Đức Bồ Tát kia. Con nguyện xin tầm nhìn mọi người chung quanh con bằng ánh mắt từ bi, bằng tâm tình hiểu biết. Con xin tầm lặng nghe và đôi tai xót thương, bằng tâm lầm lẫn mặn nhìn và nghe. Như thế là hành của Bồ Tát, có thể là với nhẹ khổ đau trong lòng người, đem lại niềm an lạc về cho cả hai phía. Chúng con ý thức rằng chính phiền não si mê làm cho thế giới này trở thành nơi hỏa ngục. Nếu tu tập chuyển hóa, chế tăng được hiểu biết, cảm thông và thương yêu, chúng con sẽ tạo được tình độ ngay nơi này. Dù cuộc đời vô thường, dù sinh lão bệnh tử đã có đường đi rồi, con không còn lo sợ, hạnh phúc thấy được sống. Đưa hành trì giới định, sống vững chãi thành thơi trong từng giây từng phút của cuộc sống hàng ngày, và trực tiếp tham gia vào sự nghiệp độ sinh của Bồ Tát. Giờ phút này quý bao niềm biết tràn dân, xin lại được thế đón chứng minh và niệm thọ. Đại chúng mở trang 22. Please turn to page 22. Be well day and night. Ngày đêm an lành. Nguyện ngày an lành, đêm an lành, ngày đêm sáu điều an lành trong mỗi giây
In gratitude to our parents that gave us life, and our country that keeps us safe, we bow deeply to the three jewels in the 10 directions.
Đệ tử chúng con nhân cha mẹ sanh thành quốc dân bảo hộ, cúi đầu kính lễ tam bảo thường trụ trăm mười phương.
In gratitude to our teachers and friends who have shown us the path, we bow deeply to the three jewels in the 10 directions.
Đệ tử chúng con nhân sư trường nhau huấn luyện vì tinh thí đàn na, cúi đầu kính lễ tam bảo thường trụ trăm mười phương.
In gratitude to all living beings in the animals, plants, and mineral world, we bow deeply to the three jewels in the 10 directions.
Đệ tử chúng con nhân mọi loài chúng sanh cây cỏ đất đá, cúi đầu kính lễ tam bảo thường trụ trăm mười phương.
Cảm ơn đại chúng. Mời đại chúng an tọa. Please be seated.
Nam mô A Di Đà Phật. Kính bạch thầy, kính thưa quý thầy, quý sư cô cùng toàn thể đại chúng. Hôm nay trước khi con có cơ hội được chia sẻ bằng tiếng Anh với các bạn trẻ thì con kính mời đại chúng ta cùng chắp tay và mình sẽ niệm danh hiệu Đức Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật 3 lần. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Nam mô Bổn Ca Kính thưa quý thầy, quý sư cô, kính thưa toàn thể đại chúng. Bây giờ con xin phép được chia sẻ bằng tiếng Anh. Dear respected Thai, dear community, dear friends, how are you doing today? shared a few weeks ago that the flowers outside are blooming very beautifully. I wonder if you could smell them this week. Yeah, they smell very, very nice. Just walking past the flowers yesterday, I asked the tree to see if I could take one bundle inside to offer to. I have a little statue of Avalokiteshvara in my room, so I asked the tree if I could take one bundle of honeysuckle, and the tree didn't really say anything, but hopefully it said yes. So I took a bundle and I brought it into my room to offer to the statue in my room. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, as you can see here, she is Kuan Yin. You might know her as Kuan Yin. Or in Vietnamese, we know her as Bồ Tát Quán Thế Âm, and she represents the quality of love, of compassion, and of listening deeply. So today, on the topic of love, on the occasion of Father's Day, I would like to share a little bit about how in Buddhist practice, according to the Buddhist tradition, we can repay the gratitude and the kindness of our parents. So when I was little, as a very young monk, I became a monk when I was very, very small. I was 3 years old when I entered the monastery. And you might think it could be quite hard for a small boy to leave his parents, come to the monastery, and stay at the monastery. And it was difficult sometimes for me. I loved the monastery. I thought it was really fun. I felt like I belonged there. But at the same time, sometimes I also missed my parents. And on this one occasion, we had the chance to chant the sutra called Bao Hiếu Phụ Mẫu Trọng Ân Kinh. And it's the sutra on repaying the great kindness of your parents. And in this sutra, the Buddha teaches about how your mother carries you in her womb for 10 months, and then all the things that she does for you, all the things that your father does for you, and then when you grow up, sometimes, out of our unskillfulness, how we might end up treating our parents, and what we can do to repay the kindness of our parents. So after I chanted that, I was very little, but I started to cry that one night, just lying in bed by myself, looking up at the ceiling and just thinking of my mom. So after I cried that one night, the next day I cried more and I wouldn't stop crying. And so the nun that was taking care of me, she saw that I was very sad. So she called me over and she asked me why I was crying. And I said, Siko, I miss my mom and I miss my dad a lot. Maybe I miss my mom more than I miss my dad at that point, because I guess I was more closer to my mom than I was to my dad. But she looked at me and she smiled, and I still remember that moment very, very clearly. She was sitting on a hammock, and I was just sitting on the side of the hammock, and she said, look into your hand. And then I held my hand up and I looked at it, and she said, inside of your hand right now, your mom is inside of your hand and your dad is also inside of your hand. And I was a bit confused, but then she explained that inside of my body, the blood of my parents have been transmitted to me. So she said, wherever you go, whatever you're doing, your parents are always there with you. So, back to us. Sometimes we have very good experiences with our parents. Some of us maybe haven't had the best experience with our parents. Some of us come from families that are broken. But when we speak about the facts, there's no way that we can deny that our biological parents are our biological parents. And because of them, we were born into this world. And we always use the analogy of having your parents inside of you because of their blood. And I did a little bit of research on that this morning, and apparently 50-50 of your genes half come from your mom and half come from your dad. And they also donate one or two of their ABO genes, their blood types to you. So you either have your dad's blood type or your mom's blood type, or you have both. So inside of you, your parents exist in a very subtle way. But if we are mindful, then we will understand that actually they exist in us, not only in a physical way, but also through our emotions and our habits. Have you ever done something and then just stopped? Or now if you reflect on it, wait, stop for a minute and think, did my dad used to do this? Or did my mom used to do this? Or is this how my dad acted? Or is this how my mom usually acts in this kind of situation? Yeah. Well, apparently some research, some studies show that you will grow to be more like your parents, whether you like it or not. And they had a study where they tested children who were adopted and children who were biologically related to their parents. The adopted children, once they found their biological parents, found out that they are more like their biological parents than their adoptive parents. So we can't deny the fact that our parents are within us, and one day we might become something like them. Scary to think, but it is very true. And at that moment when she showed me that my parents were inside of me, I felt like I wasn't sad anymore. I was like, oh, my mom's inside of me right now. Wherever I'm going, my mom is always with me. Wherever I'm going, my dad is always with me. And so in Buddhism, we stress a lot about repaying kindness, the kindness of our parents. And in particular, today is Father's Day. So how can we repay the kindness of our father or of our mother? Because I looked through all of the sutras, and the Buddha, well, not all of them, but through a couple of them, and the Buddha mentions mom and dad at the same time. So he never just says mom, he never just says dad, but he involves both parents. So in the context of the Dharma, the best way to repay the kindness of your parents is to persuade them to practice, to learn the Dharma. We should offer them our skillfulness in order to help them come to the Dharma if they have not come to the Dharma. And this is not about being Buddhist, it's not about converting your parents, but the Dharma, we have to understand here, is the path of understanding and love. So the Buddha teaches understanding and love. And the path of the Buddhist practice is the path of understanding and love. What happens when you don't have understanding and love? You get in fights. It's like my parents. One time, I had to go home for a whole month because my parents were fighting. And when I sat down and I listened to them, both share their sides of the story, it was just misunderstandings. So many misunderstandings piled on top of each other, again and again and again, with no time, no motivation, no initiation to actually sit down and resolve it. In our life, with our friends and family, it is the same. If we don't have understanding, if we don't understand that person's suffering, understand their side of the story, we will never be able to love them. So understanding and love is very important, and that is what the Dharma is. You see, in the monastery, we have the big bell over here and the big drum. These two instruments represent these two elements of understanding and love. The understanding is represented by the powerful sound of the drum, and the very light sound of the bell symbolizes love. So during a really, really big ceremony, we play these two instruments at the same time. So that means we wish for all living beings to be enveloped, to be able to practice and dwell in this state of understanding and love. So helping our parents encounter the Dharma is very, very important. You know, you must care for your parents by means of food, offering them our love and making sure they're happy, making sure they don't worry about us, making sure they have enough love, care, and support in their old age, for example. But it is very important that we help them have a practice, a path to practice. The Buddha teaches in a sutra that there are some things that we should do to repay the kindness of our parents. So, number 1, introducing them to the path of practice. 2, if they have not sown the seed of refuge in the 3 jewels, we should help them do so. So the three jewels are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And you can understand it as going to the temple, taking refuge in the Buddha, his teachings, and the monks and whatsoever. But there's a more subtle meaning, and taking refuge in the Buddha is taking refuge in the capacity to awaken inside of yourself. When you're aware, when you're awake, you water the seed inside of you that's called the Buddha nature, and everyone has it. The Buddha said everyone can become a Buddha. So the more you water that seed, the more the Buddha in you grows. And the Buddha said at some point, everyone will become a Buddha. So whenever anyone gives me a hard time and I get upset by someone, one thing I always think that helps me alleviate that feeling of uncomfort is, who cares? They will become a Buddha one day, so I don't have to worry. Yeah. Everyone has the capacity to become a Buddha. Taking refuge in that awareness is very important, because if we are aware, we make other people suffer less. We make ourselves suffer less. When we are aware, we're able to see things more clearly. One example is that, let's say we're in a crowd of people. If everyone is moving and we're moving at the same time, then it's very difficult for us to observe people. But if we're standing still and everyone around us is moving, then we are very observant, we're very aware, and we know who's doing what, who is where. So awareness is very important. So that's taking refuge in the seed of awareness that's inside of you and me. The second is taking refuge in the teachings, which I explained, the way of understanding and love. And the third is taking refuge in the community. Being close to monks and nuns, you can understand it in that way, because monks and nuns are here to deliver, to share with you their experiences of practice. So then we can support each other on our path. So that is taking refuge in the Sangha. But the Sangha is a community that lives in harmony and awareness. So at home, if your home has harmony, if you are aware in order to shift the needs of those around you, to listen deeply to those around you, then you have harmony. It's like my mom and dad, they were fighting over a garbage can. My dad wanted the garbage can right in front of the garage, and my mom wanted to put it aside. But my dad wouldn't let my mom put the garbage can where she wanted it to. And they didn't really express that need, or even if they did express that need, it was in the heat of the moment, and both of them were not calm to listen to each other's perspective. So when we have harmony, when we have awareness, we have harmony. And that is the quality of a Sangha. The monks and nuns here, we try to practice to be aware and to be harmonious. And in any community, if you practice harmony, if you practice awareness, you are a Sangha. So you can build the triple gem right in your home. Tai always shares that there's a difference between a house and a home. A house is something built up out of wood, out of, I don't really know what they used to build houses, but the stuff you use to build a house, the materialistic things. But a home is built from trust. It's built from love. It's built from awareness, from understanding. It is built from harmony. So helping our dad, helping our mom take refuge in the three jewels, in that spirit. If they are miserly, we should find ways to persuade them to give. If they're engaging in unwholesome activities, we should skillfully direct them towards wholesome things. So I don't think this really needs much explanation. For example, if your dad or your mom, most likely your dad, my dad, he likes to smoke. And one time, my mom wanted to send something to my dad, and she sent him some cigarettes that she bought. And my dad likes to smoke a lot, so he called me just to check to see if that was actually from me, because she said it was from me and my younger brother, but actually she bought it. And I told my dad, no, Dad, actually, I didn't send that to you, because the last thing I would want you to do is smoke. And after that call, he called me again and he said, son, Daddy gave everything back, but he only kept one pack of cigarette. And that made me so happy in that moment, because I thought that my dad he cared about me enough to take only one pack of cigarette and not the whole bar that my mom sent him. So guiding them from right to wrong, skillfully, respectfully guiding them from right to wrong. If they have a wrong view, we should skillfully show them what the right view is. If we can do this, it is to repay the kindness of our parents according to the Dharma, helping them not only to have peace and happiness in the present, but also sowing good merits in the future. So in the present, you're already happy because you practice understanding, you practice love, you practice harmony and awareness. And one thing that we as the Buddhist practitioners, we keep is 5 mindfulness trainings. First is not to kill, no stealing, no cheating, no lying, and not to intake things that are toxins to our body. Intoxication, basically. For example, drinking a lot of alcohol or smoking too much, or even going to gamble. That is considered a kind of toxicant to our mind. So if we can persuade them to practice the teachings, practice the 5 precepts, then we are repaying the kindness of our parents. Because we can give them a lot of food. We should give them a lot of food. But when you eat food, you have to eat it again. If you eat the Dharma, it will keep you full for a very, very long time. When you practice and you're able to transform yourself, it becomes like a ripple. It will spread to everyone around you. For example, if you are very, very happy one day and you step into a room, then everyone will notice that you're very joyful that day. But if you're not very happy, you're in a bad mood, you step into a room, although you try to hide it, people will know. People will know that you're not happy that day. So we are very much affecting the people around us. So one question you might ask is, Thầy, what if my parents have passed away? Or what if my dad has passed away, since it's Father's Day? In the Buddhist teaching, we believe that although we are passing away on a physical form, actually, it's just, if we look very deeply, it's just the coming together and breaking apart of something. It's like you see a cloud in the sky. At first you see it in the sky and you call it a cloud. But later on, when it rains, the cloud turns into rain. And then you don't call it a cloud anymore. So the cloud has broken up into rain, or has changed into rain. And from the rain goes into the ocean, goes into the rivers, then you no longer call it the rain. You call it the ocean, you call it the river or the stream. And then it goes into the soil, it nourishes the plants, and then you call it a plant, because it's inside of the plant now. So everything is manifesting and changing, but everything is not lost or destroyed. I remember when I was in school and I learned like this law, I think it's called the law of conservation of mass. It's like matter cannot be produced nor destroyed, only transferred. And I was very, very happy when I learned this law, because it's exactly like in Buddhism, we teach interbeing, which means everything just changes its form. But actually, it's still there, just in a different form. So our parents continue to manifest in different ways. And the most seeable way, the most clear way, is inside of us. Like earlier I shared about how you can see that sometimes your mom's habit is in you, sometimes your dad's habit is in you, and they've given you, they've donated you their blood. So right now they're inside of you. I would like to read a portion from the Akotara Agama, and this is basically a collection of the Buddha's teachings. It's one of the many collections. Dear bhikkhus, those who know gratitude, although they are thousands of distances away from me, I still see them as standing by my side. But those who do not know of gratitude, although they stand by my side, but I see it as if they are many distances away. And this is just a rough translation. So those who we love, our parents, let's say our father, our mother, who pass away, are the same. if we are grateful, we're always thinking of them, we're always trying to do good things on their behalf, we're always thinking of what they said, what they did for us, then actually they're closer to us than we think. We can be right beside them, but not care about them at all. We can be right beside them and not give anything about what they have to say. But once they're far away, and that becomes more precious, more rare, and we think about them more often, then actually we're closer to them than we think we are. In the Buddhist tradition, we try to do good deeds on behalf of our parents. And I will explain why in the following. So in a sutta called the Sigalovada Sutta, the Buddha explains to a young man 5 ways a child should minister to his parents. So, having supported me, I shall support them. I shall do their duties, I shall keep the family tradition, I shall make myself worthy of my inheritance, and furthermore, I shall offer alms in honor of my departed relatives. So the last part is very important. Offering alms, or giving, or doing charitable work in the honor of your parents. So we believe that once somebody passes away, because once you pass away, that's not the end. We believe in the Buddhist teaching, that once they pass away, it is important that we continue to support them even though they're not physically here. And if you think about it, they would still rejoice. Your dad would still rejoice. Your grandpa would still rejoice. Your mother, your grandmother would still be very happy if they saw you doing good deeds. Or just the fact that you are doing good deeds on their behalf. They will be very, very happy. So in the Sutra of the Fundamental Vows of Bodhisattva Siddhigarbha, which is a sutra we chant very often once somebody passes away, in the sutra it teaches us that we can do good things. For example, practicing giving to those who are less fortunate or giving to those who need. Teaches us to release animals from captivity, releasing life. Back then they had the capacity to do that. You know, they go to the market and maybe there's a duck that day that's supposed to become some Peking duck, and they buy that duck home, they release it back into the wild. But now we don't really do that anymore. So what we can do is we can donate to charities that help support animals, that help save animals. And in the sutra, it teaches that out of 7 parts of merits, our loved one will get 1 part. So it's very important. You can think of it as a bank account. Everyone has a bank account, and you can transfer money to each other. Let's say our loved one who passes away, they are in debt because they don't have enough money, and they're short of a little bit of money. We can help them if they're going through difficult times by making money and sending them that money. So it's absolutely possible to give them some help according to our capacity. Transfer this money to their account. But we can only do so much, right? We certainly can't keep doing that forever, and only to some extent. So out of 7 parts of merit, our deceased ones, they get 1 portion, and the 6 remain with the living. But remember, so the more we have in our bank account, the more we can give. So we always think of getting rich, of finding ways to become wealthier. Why not find ways to become rich in the Dharma, becoming rich in merits, doing a lot of good things for others. And this merit thing is very, very all up in the sky. But very practically, if you see, once you do something good for other people, what happens? You get good things in return. It's very, very simple. Offering food to the hungry. One thing people like to do, if they are very, very close with a monastery or they practice, they're very continuous practitioners, is if you look sometimes in the back of the Buddhist texts, they have in the back a little message. We, this family, on behalf of this person, name, passed away on this date, we are printing these Dharma texts for free distribution on behalf of them. So when we give someone food, when we give someone a meal, they will be full for an hour. They'll be full it takes 8 hours to digest. But if we give them the Dharma, see, 1 single word that is beneficial, then that can last with them for their whole life. So where do we put our money? For example, I have a brother that says, if I had the capacity to have a temple, he just said, I wouldn't have any statues. And that's he says, I would give all that money to the poor. And that's good. But also if you take your money and you invest it, for example, in a Buddha statue, and many people come to that monastery, they see that beautiful Buddha image, it reminds them to live more compassionately, reminds them to live more kind. Then in a way, you're also giving people more motivation to be kind, more motivation to do merit. So it's almost equally the same. One other thing that we can do is we can be vegetarian. And this ties in with having compassion for animals. So, I remember one funny thing I saw online about a poet. He said, if he was a spider and he was caught at the wrong time in the wrong place, he would want his life to be spared. So when we see a small ant or a small spider, especially the little ones, sometimes we like to step on them. But imagine if we were that ant, we were that spider, and we just ended up somewhere at the wrong time, wrong moment. We won't want other people to step on us, so we treat other beings the way we want to be treated. And being vegetarian ties in with something much more complicated, and this is only a part of it, which in Buddhism we believe that through countless births, countless lifetimes, we're reborn in different forms. So all of the animals that you see, all the people around you, because of the countless times that you've been born into this world, they could have been your mother or father. So every time you eat a chicken, every time you eat this is not to say that you shouldn't eat chicken or stop eating meat altogether, but this is just from a very deep perspective. Everyone around you has had that chance probably to be your mom or dad. So in the sutra that I mentioned, it also teaches that what we do after our loved one passes away really affects them. Let's say if they didn't do a lot, they were just kind of a neutral person. They didn't do so much good, they didn't do so much bad. When they pass away, their balance of merit and karma, good and bad karma, is very neutral. But because we're all interconnected, that's why we're born, to see each other in this life, is because we've seen each other before, according to the Buddhist teaching. So because of that, if we do unwholesome actions or we create negative karma, the person who passes away in turn will have to suffer from that karma. So that's also why we persuade everyone to be vegetarian for the span of 49 days, or be vegetarian as much as you can. And you don't have to believe this, but just believe that being vegetarian help you lose weight is a thumbs up. If you're thinking of eating healthy, eating vegetables is very good. You can get a lot of protein from tofu, from many, many other vegetables, and you wouldn't have to hurt an animal. So, be vegetarian, very important. In the sutra, it gives an example of a guy who is walking and on a journey, and he's been without food for 3 whole days. And to make it even worse, he has a bunch of luggage on his shoulders. And then he sees another person who says, hey, are you going there? Would you be able to take this with you and bring it there and give it to this person and that person? They will suffer even more because we're making their burden even heavier. So try our best to eat vegetarian food. What other ways can we repay their kindness? One thing that we can do is we can cherish this body that they've given us. Sometimes we suffer a lot. Maybe because we don't like what has happened so far in our lives, or so far in our lives, things just haven't been good. Like some people just don't have enough conditions to be happy, or enough conditions that are powerful enough to help them see, without the Dharma, that they are very, very fortunate. And we might suffer and say, sometimes I hear friends, younger friends than me even say, I didn't ask to be born into this world. I really didn't ask to be born into this world. Why was I even born into this world? Or they have some kind of hatred towards their parents because their parents maybe brought them into life and didn't have the skillfulness to take care of them. If we have a deep understanding, we can think, well, now I'm alive, I have this body, so why don't I do my very best to make it meaningful? Work with what I have. I might not be 6 feet tall, incredibly handsome, or born with a golden spoon in my mouth, or be super talented at singing, or what I want to be. But at least I have a human body, and that is very precious. With the human body, we have so many potentials. You see, some people are born without limbs, but they even exceed us. They're better at us at doing things. It's because they've found the key, which is acceptance. Although they're less fortunate, but they've found a way to make their life more meaningful. And so the very, very good way to repay our parents' kindness is to do something with this life that they've given us. Do something great with it, and I'm sure we all can. Let's say if we do have a wonderful life, and our parents have always loved us and supported us, then when we're happy, we should think of them. How often do you think of your parents when you eat something tasty? Tai, my teacher, he shared with us that every time he eats something tasty, he always thinks about his mom and his dad. So how often do we think about our parents when we are happy? But how often do we run to them when we're sad, when we're suffering? One time I heard this very, very meaningful example given by a venerable nun. She said, our mother is like a pin cushion, and we're like a pin. Every time we need something, we stick our pin cushion, we take it from the pin cushion and we use it. And then when we finish, we stick it back in. And then when we need it, we take it out. And then we stick it back in, and we take it out, and we stick it back in. But do we ever really bring to our awareness that that place is our home? So our parents are the same. Our mother, our father is the same. One other thing that is very important to practice is acceptance and forgiving, like I mentioned, or letting go. Because sometimes when we're hurt, our parents are not sages. They're not saints. They're bodhisattvas, but they're not saints. What's the difference? Bodhisattvas, there are two types of bodhisattvas. A bodhisattva is someone who vows to deliver other beings or to help other beings be awakened, be happy before they reach that point themselves. Or one that has already reached that point and has come back to help other beings. Sometimes you see in the monastery a statue of a bodhisattva with a lot of arms. Have you seen this before? And on each arm at the end of the arm, on the hand there is an eye. In our lives, our mother is like this bodhisattva because she has many, many hands to do many things at once. Our father is like this bodhisattva because he has many hands and he has many eyes to be cautious to see what to do. He has to go to work, maybe he has to pick us up from school. At the same time, he has to worry about paying the bills, worrying about if the house has been swept or cleaned. So they're bodhisattvas. They might not be saints, but they're definitely bodhisattvas. So sometimes when our parents scold us or they do something unskillful to us, it is according to the I think the right way for me, I think, is to be able to forgive them. First of all, because they're humans like us. And in those situations, when someone does something that hurts us, we often forget about all the things that they did for us. It's like that example that I always use with the white piece of paper and the black dot. We always see the black dot, but we never see the white piece of paper. The other day when I went to Westlock Meditation Center with my brothers, I was upset a bit in the morning. I'm very ashamed to say, but because I woke up a bit late and we're leaving at 8:30. So I said, just wait for me, I'll be at the parking lot. So I came out to the parking lot and it was already 8:30, but they were gone. And the reason why I was upset was because sometimes on the way to Westlock, we get to go to Tim Hortons. And we have a lot of fun together. And on that day, I called my younger brother and I asked him, hey, can you wait for me? And he said, sorry, man, we're gonna be late. So I said, no, we won't be late. I'll just be out there right away. And then when I went out there, they were already gone. So they told me to take another car. And when I went up there, I ended up being there first. And like maybe 10 minutes later, they came. And at that moment, I was a bit unskillful. And I said, oh, how early you are. In that kind of, kiểu như nói móc á. And I was very angry for the whole day. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't speak to them. Although I knew that it's not good, it's so hard to open up. And at the end of the day, once I calmed down a bit, I thought, hey, my brother has done a lot for me. He left Vancouver, he moved to Edmonton. He supported me in many, many ways when I was very desperate in my path of practice. And he's never stopped supporting me, even to this very moment. So how can I be angry at him for just one instant compared to all the things that he did for me? So our parents are much the same. When our parents do something, maybe they yell at us or maybe they treat us maybe not so skillfully, we can reflect in that way. How much have they done for us? So we all make mistakes as human beings. And we think about it, parents, they raise their children unconditionally, but how many children have the capacity to really treat their parents the exact same way when their parents become old? One time I was here at the foot of the stairs here, and there was a man, and this is a true story. His mother was quite old, she was a little bit bent, and she was mumbling something. And all of a sudden I heard him shout at her. He said, why do you talk so much? And I was shocked because it was very loud. Why did you talk so much? Do you know why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth? It's to listen more and to talk less. And in that moment, I was completely shocked. How can a son say that to his mother? In our lives, we often, in moments like that, when we're angry, we forget who we are. That's why in Buddhism, we teach everyone to be aware. When we're little, if you have kids, or in the monastery, when I have little kids come and stay with us, I know. They ask a lot of questions. And they keep on asking you questions again and again and again. And for the thousands and millions of times the questions are asked, we always try to give you an answer. For the many times, our parents get questions from us, or we say things to our parents. Our parents are never angry at us, but when they grow old, how can we treat them in that way? So the Buddha said in a sutra, what he did was he put his hand down to the ground and he put a little bit of dirt in his fingernails and he showed the monks. He said, the dirt on my fingernails compared to the dirt that is on this earth, what is more? And the monk said, of course, dear Buddha, the dirt on this earth is more. And the Buddha said, it is the same with children who are respectful to their parents. There are very, very few children who can actually repay the kindness of their parents. So let's say if our parents, they weren't really there for us. And often it's because of special conditions. They weren't able to take care of us. Maybe they don't even know who we are. But at least when we have this body, even though we don't know who they are, at least if we have this body, we should be grateful that they've given us this life, whether this life is good or bad. Because with this life, we can do many, many things. Wonderful experiences open to us. The last thing to do is to treasure the teachings that they give you. Because once they pass away, you know for sure that all that's left is their teaching. All that's left is how they treated you, what they taught you, what they did for you. There's a really, really touching story about a family. We went to pray for a father who passed away, and the mother, she said, one time when the black and white TV first came out, I think, I don't know if I remember the story very correctly, but he walked all the way to the store and carried the black and white TV back home on foot for his children. So learning these examples from our parents, vowing to continue them, is the way that we can repay our parents' kindness. In the Katanu Sutta, another teaching of the Buddha, in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha says, monks, so he's talking to the monks, one can never repay two persons, I declare. What two? Mother and father. Even if one should carry about his mother on one shoulder and his father on the other, and so doing should live 100 years, so for 100 years, attain 100 years, and if he should support them, anointing them with food, bathing them, giving them massages, and let's say they're old and they accidentally, how do I say this? It says here, void their excrements upon him. Even so, he could not repay his parents. So this is what it's recorded in the teaching. Moreover, monks, if he should establish his parents in supreme authority, in the absolute rule over this mighty earth, abounding in the 7 treasures, not even this could repay his parents. So if you even be a king, a prime minister, and you had all the riches in the world and you gave this to your parents, you still wouldn't be able to repay their kindness. What is the cause for that? Monks, parents do much for their children. They bring them up, they nourish them, and they introduce them to this world. So, dear friends, on this occasion of Father's Day, I would just like to share a little bit about what the Buddha taught in the scriptures about repaying the kindness of your parents. And before we end, I would like to offer a short song. I think all the grown-ups know this song. And if you don't know this song, it's a very nice song. Tình cha ấm áp như vầng thái dương, ngọt ngào như dòng nước trôi đầu nguồn. Suốt đời vì con gian nan, ân tình đậm sâu bao nhiêu, cha hỡi cha già dấu yêu. Và còn nhớ mãi những ngày tháng qua, kỷ niệm năm nào khó phai trong lòng. Nhớ hoài tuổi thơ bên cha, gian khổ ngày đêm chăm lo, mong muốn con được lớn khôn. Còn nhớ những ngày ấy, những đêm trường giá lạnh, và cha nằm ôm con, sưởi ấm những cánh dài. Nhẹ nhàng ôm con và cha khẽ nói, này con yêu ơi, con hãy nhớ lời cha sống cho nên người, và con ơi chớ bao giờ dối gian. Nghèo thì cho sách rách sao cho thơm, những lời của cha năm xưa con nguyện ghi sâu trong tim. Cha hỡi cha già dấu yêu. Thank you, everyone. Please say Happy Father's Day to your father. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Xin cảm ơn đại chúng. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ có cơ hội cúng cho người thân của mình. Nghe tiếng khánh chúng ta cùng